Okay, here I'm in the AWS Management Console and I want to start working on the spot request. So for the start, we can go to the compute part, and the place that we are configuring is same as the one that we configure for the on-demand one. Just click on the EC2, and inside this console on the left side we have instances and we have spot requests. So if you launch one instance from here, which we did in previous videos, this is going to be on-demand virtual machine or on-demand EC2, but here on the left side we have spot requests. So if we have any workload that doesn't need to run a particular time, like analytics, like financial modeling, like big data, like media encoding, like testing, like continuous integration or marketing data, the one that they are not mission critical, we can create a spot request and we can start using it. And technically, if I just want to give you an example, let's assume that we want to run EC2 instances if the price of these resources are less than $1 per hour. I know it's too much, but just as an example, if the price is less than $1 per hour, we want to run the machine. If it's more than $1 per hour, then we don't want to run this machine because it's too expensive for us. So we are going to bid on a price in the AWS, and technically we have to know, we should see a kind of chart to see how much is the price of an EC2 instance, and we should tell the AWS that if it comes down from, let's say, $1, then we want to run the machine. Or you'll see in the console that there's some mechanism we can say whenever the price is at the minimum, we want to run the EC2 instances. So let's go ahead and configure the spot request. In this console, we can click on the request spot instances, and technically we have different workloads. So this one is good for web services. This one is for continuous integration, for example. This one is for big data, and also we can send a request for a duration of time. So usually, well, it depends on your scenario. The first one is usually the one that usually we use, but I mean, it's again case by case. It could be different. You can choose whatever is applying to you. But basically, we have a template here. We can use the template, or we can create a new template, which we'll talk more about the template, but it's just a basic image that we did some pre-configuration on it. So the next option, we have the AMI. It's the images, and there are a bunch of well-known images that we can use, like Microsoft Windows or any other images, or you can also search AMI based on the AMI numbers and AMI IDs and in the community, and any AMIs that you've already pre-configured. So go ahead and select your image that you want to use, and after that, this is the minimum compute unit that you want to use for your spot request. You can go with the specs, or you can go with the instance type. I'll go with the instance type, and the instance that we want to use here is C3 large 2V CPU and around 4 GB of memory with 16 GB of SSD disk. So you can change the type that you'd like here. And this is a pretty interesting chart here. So if you select the supported one, you can see how much money you can save if you run spot requests in compare of the on-demand virtual machines. So it's pretty, I mean, these numbers are 60-70% of on-demand prices, and you can technically save a lot of money actually here. Anyway, I'm going to select the C3 large. Then you should select your VPC. You should select your availability zone, or if you don't have any preferences, there's gonna apply, they're gonna put your EC2 on availability zones themselves. And then your keeper, well, we already created a bunch of keepers. I'll select one of them, or you can create a new one here also. There are some additional configurations, so you can basically go through all the details of your EC2 instances, all the details that we've already configured inside our EC2 instances when we were configured on demand one. About the security groups, even you can talk about the public IP addresses. If there's IAM role, you can select that one, and any user data that you want to run inside your machine, you can put it here. And of course, tags that they are really important, and it's recommended that you need to put tags on your resources. So this is just the advanced settings and some kind of additional configurations. And down here you can say how many instances you need. For example, I need 10 instances, and this is the total target capacity. And down here we can also request request a fleet, there are some recommendations that applied to our request. I can remove this one, and actually I can scroll down and you can see this is the place that you can say, for example, I want to have diversified across these pools or fleet, or you can say I want to have the lowest price. If I scroll down and if I remove this apply default settings, and down here you can see the maximum price, and it says by default the on-demand price is the maximum price you will ever pay for the spot request. And we're saying, okay, use the default. And if I change this one to set your maximum or max price, this is the per instance per hour, and you can select, technically you can tell literally to the AWS that I want to pay, for example, this amount of money. If you can provide me your resources with this much money, then I am happy and I want to run my EC2 instances. If it's more than this one, I don't like it. Probably you ask where this number is coming from. So by default, you're telling the AWS to select for you the best price. And there's a pricing history here, and you can see it based on the chart. There's a chart actually, your operating system, the type of the instance that you want to use, and the duration of the time. If you check this one, usually the prices are almost, the same in the last 3 months, or it depends on the availability of the resources on AWS. But you can see this is the one that we can use in a spot request, and you can compare it with the on-demand price. So we are telling the AWS to choose it for us. We don't want to deal with this one right now. And this is the duration, and you are telling the AWS to terminate the instances when the request expires. So we don't have any load balancer. I'll apply the defaults. I just want to show you these settings, the defaults and recommendation. I'm going to apply them. You can see the JSON config, and I'm going to select launch. So this is basically our request. It doesn't guarantee that any instances is running. So we are creating our request here. Then probably after a while, we'll see that our virtual machines are start running. But as I said, there's no guarantee that we have the virtual machines right away. I can go back to my dashboard, or I can go to my instances, and I can check that if I have any virtual machines or EC2 instances running. So right away, as you can see here, the first one, it's C3 large, and it's running. So it seems that the AWS is running one of my instances. But if you remember, I requested 10 EC2 instances. So I hit refresh here, and still I am just having one EC2 instances. So we should give it some time to see what will happen. But if I go back to spot request here, and you can see now one of my instances is actually fulfilled and is running. And if I open this one, it's actually underneath this request. So one machine is running, and I can use it for, let's say, testing purposes, or I have a media encoding I want to run it on this instance, and the price is much lower basically than the on-demand EC2 instances. So we'll give it some time. As you can see here now, other machines are running. So I have now 5 machines running, and so it's just a matter of time. After a while, you can see that all of these requests are running, and you can check all the details here, all of their status and all the details related to their configurations. So that was it. It was just a spot request. Again, I want to emphasize no mission critical services on them, and we are not sure when these ones are running, and basically the AWS is just give us a heads up maybe two minutes before termination, and then these instances are gone.